All right, let's do it. Let's build an AI chatbot powered by GPT-4. We're going to do it. It's happening. We're going to do it all in C# with .NET. We're going to do it in just a few minutes because there's some amazing libraries that enable you to get up and running using AI in your .NET applications in minutes. And then I'm going to show you some advanced scenarios so you can start your AI journey. So let's go ahead and get into it. Hey everyone, I'm James, and I'm really early in my AI journey for software development. I've been a long-time mobile developer, desktop developer, kind of been dabbling in the web space for a little bit now. But with AI that's been with us for a long time at this point, is finally time for me to really get into it and start learning. And you know, I think the beginning building blocks is just simply learning some of the core concepts and building something simple. I saw my good friend Stephen Taub build out a really cool chat bot live, and I took some of the core concepts. I did some deeper learning. I actually met with him, got a little bit deeper in there. I want to show you how we can build a simple chat bot. We're going to build some console applications, and I'm going to show you how to use Semantic Kernel to easily access these different AI backends. And today we're going to be using OpenAI and GPT-4. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's jump into it. What I've created here is first a simple web API. And that's where we're going to actually do our sort of prompting and integration into GPT and OpenAI. And then I have this client. So this client's very, very simple. It's just simply calling out to my web backend. It's going to be a console application that prompts the user for a question. It's going to read the line. And then it's using this nice get from JSON as async enumerable. Because remember, like when you chat with ChatGPT, for example, all of that response is being streamed back to you. So it's not just a big blob coming back to you, it's being streamed in real time back to you. So you want to sort of iterate that out. So here I'm just going to call the chat backend that I'm creating and pass it the question. There we go, Q and Q. And I'm going to write it out. So basically it's going to be chunked along the way. And then I'm just going to add a new line. Now for the API, I haven't built it out yet, but I have built out a fake sample basically here that has a chat backend that takes in a question. So again, we see the question coming in here, and that question is going to just return this invoke prompt because we're going to prompt basically, GPT at this point. But what we can see is that this just simply splits the words, does a little delay, and then yield returns, and it streams them all back. So here I have both of these projects and properties down here as the startup project. So we're totally good to go. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit start. So when I hit start on here, this is going to open up, there we go, my client, there we go. And I'm going to say, what is the weather like in Seattle in April, question mark. And it's going to essentially just repeat back what I've done. It's just a little REPL echo going on here. Now let's go ahead and create a actual chat bot agent here that's calling into GPT-4 and OpenAI on the back end. Now, to do this, we're going to get rid of all this code down here, and we're going to actually invoke the OpenAI services. And we're going to do that leveraging Semantic Kernel. If you've never heard of Semantic Kernel, it's kind of similar to an operating system of AI in a way. It's responsible for managing these resources that enable us to interact with models and services and plugins inside of our applications. It's available in C# and Python, which is really, really cool. So it has this nice little diagram here that you can kind of see where the kernel is coming in. And you can select your service, your rendering prompts, invoking AI services, goes into the kernel, and there's a bunch of things, and your app can talk to a bunch of different models. So if you've never seen that before, definitely check it out. It's really cool. And you can think of it as this open source SDK that does plug into these different ecosystems, which is really, really cool. And a lot of times when you hear about copilots, really Semantic Kernel is at the center of it. But I sort of think of it as a simplified API that enables us to interact with these different models that are out there. And there's a great tutorial on creating your first prompt. And that's sort of what we're going to do today. And this is where I got started, not only just prompting it, but then actually building upon the prompt as well. So the one thing that helped me as a developer was actually right here in this understanding the kernel. You pass around this kernel object, and the kernel object has these services and plugins necessary to run your code and communicate with the AI services. So for example, you will select the best AI service to run the prompts. You build the prompt with prompt templates. You send the prompt to the AI service. You receive and parse the response. and that is automatically coming back to you in your application. And the kernel will handle basically all of this for you. And all you have to do is have the inputs and the outputs of how you want to display it. So let's go ahead and integrate that into our backend service. So I'm going to say manage NuGet package, and I'm going to come in and say Microsoft.semantic kernel. Now, the cool part about semantic kernel is that it works with a bunch of different AI providers out there. So for example, if you just bring in semantic kernel, this brings in the core, but OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, DALL-E, and more. But if we scroll through here, we can see that there are other plugins and other connectors to other services. So here's a Quadrant connector, for example, SQLite, Postgres providers if you have vector databases, MongoDB, Pinecone, Milvus, for example, here. And then there's also Onyx, which is really great to do like offline different models to use. And then there's also Google, so you can actually interact with Gemini if you wanted to as well. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in just the core semantic kernel because I'm using the OpenAI, just core OpenAI, that's it. I've gone to the OpenAI developer portal. I've created an API key, and I have that in my app settings over here. And that's all I did. So I did have to, for OpenAI, I did have to like give a $5 basically to fill my API quota up so I can use the API there. So that's pretty cheap. Okay, cool. So what do we need to do? It's actually really, really simple. I'm not going to lie about it. Is the cool part about semantic kernel, especially when you're doing things with like the service here, is you can just come in and say using Microsoft.semantic kernel, and then this kernel object is available to you. That you can create its own builder, and you can build up kernels and you can pass them around basically. But the cool part is that it actually integrates directly into the dependency injection service that we're using here in this web API. So I can say builder.services, I can say add kernel. And again, that's the kernel that's going to be injected into my map get here. And if I just say dot, we can type in add, and then add will show us OpenAI audio to text, chat completion, files, text embedding generation, which I'm not going to get into today, but is really cool. Text to audio, there's OpenAI versions of those. So if you're using Azure OpenAI, either of those will work here. So we're going to just say OpenAI chat completion, okay? And this is going to ask us what model ID do we want to use. So there's a lot of different models out there. I'm going to use just GPT-4 today, but you could use other turbo models or anything like that. And then it needs my API key. So all I'm going to do is pass in builder.configuration, and I have this set as my OpenAI key. So again, that is in my app settings.json. So I'm not going to show that off because it's literally just a key value pair with my OpenAI key, and that's it. So now instead of just passing the string, we're going to dependency inject in the kernel. And the kernel is that object that now has access to the OpenAI chat completion. So let's do a little chat completion here. This is where things get really interesting because the kernel has all of the commands for doing prompting and rendering and a bunch of other stuff in there, and all of the invocations here. So here's all the invoking that's going on. So we can say invoke prompt streaming async, because again, we want a streaming back set of sort of strings coming back to us for the question. There we go. And that's literally it. Now we can delete this code, and that's it. We just have this one line of code to add the kernel, set it all up, and then here we're going to inject it in, and we're going to invoke the prompt streaming async. That's it. Literally, that's it. So 2 lines of code, adding the kernel and then putting it here. So now I can come in and I can say, what is the weather usually like in Seattle in April? ? And then this is going to go out to the GPT-4 service. And here we go. It says in April, Seattle typically starts to experience weather like blah, blah, blah. There we go. We can say, what about weather in Seattle in June? Is it rainy? Is it a good time to visit? ? Let's see what it says. There we go. So it's beginning of the summer season. We get all this information in here, and then it's coming back. And it says, your witness experience, such as Fremont, hit enter there, Solstice Parade, and other popular events. So again, I can start to build up this here. and see this coming in. Now, one point that I want to make is that I'm not really doing any prompt engineering. I'm not doing any history of anything going on here, right? So if I say, what about August, question mark, it's going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. What about August? You know what I mean? In general, like specific event. So it doesn't know that context that I was talking about Seattle. So ideally in my code, I would start to build that up. I would start to do some prompt engineering on it, especially if I was creating something specific to my actual company or business. Now, I would highly recommend checking out this Building Your First Prompt article that I'll put a link to below, but it shows you not only how to do this prompting, but also how to prompt more specific, tell the AI what to avoid doing, providing context to the AI. And the neat part is that you can use other services in ML.NET, for example, to do chunking and to tokenize. So you can add different semantic meaning and relevancy into your prompts all inside of here. And a great repo to get samples from is the .NET AI samples repo on GitHub. There's all sorts of great samples in here to get you started. So there's a bunch of hiking stuff in here, which is really cool. So there's generating images, tool extensions, chat data context. That's the one to definitely look at. Different AI projects going in here, text summarization, and more. So to show you how to use not only Semantic Kernel, using Azure OpenAI, and then there's a bunch of other things that they're going to be adding as well. So tokenizing embeddings, RAGs, prompt and prompt engineering, and so much more. So definitely take a look at this repo. All right, well, there you have it. That is a basic introduction of sending prompts off to get your questions answered by GPT, such as OpenAI, like I did here. Now, I had Frank Krueger, one of my best friends and my co-host of Merge Conflict, that you can find right here on YouTube, and of course on your favorite podcast application player, review sort of this demo and give me a little bit of feedback of questions that y'all might be asking. So for example, why didn't I just call the APIs directly of OpenAI in this case? And why did I use Semantic Kernel? Well, the reason I don't want to just call, in my case, the API directly is because I love beautiful wrappers around APIs. And I love when the tool can kind of abstract out some of these higher level concepts for me. Additionally, if I am building something more real world, I may take a look at Semantic Kernel, for example, because it has connectors, it has plugins, got triggers and actions. You can have models and memories that you can build all in. It kind of streamlines, is built for AI, right? Especially as a .NET developer, I think that that is really great. So that's one of the first reasons. And as you saw in that dropdown, not only can it do like prompts, but it can do image generation. It can do all the other things that OpenAI can do, but then it can also connect up to those other services, Hugging Face, Gemini, Onyx, for example, Azure OpenAI directly, like you saw, and it really abstracts it out into some commonalities, which for me as a developer is great. So I can move around and I can use these different models. I can use these different services together. And then additionally, you might be asking, well, why did I show for this beginner sample, right, this client server relationship? One, I blame Stephen Toe, but I also blame myself because as a mobile developer, I'm not going to take my OpenAI key and shove it into my mobile app. I'm going to build a backend service and I can get that streaming stuff all in there. And in fact, also Semantic Kernel makes that streaming stuff really easy, as you saw too, which is great. So anyways, those are some of the questions. If you have more questions, leave them down in the comments below. Myself or Frank, I'll force Frank to answer all the questions, but definitely check out Merge Conflict. We just did an episode all on this stuff, specifically on tokens, on embeddings, and all the different things for GPT. So give that a look. I'll put links down in the show notes as well. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you're on your learning journey as well, what resources have been helpful for you? Leave them down in the comments and let me know. I'm on my learning journey, and I'd love to learn more, especially things that you found super helpful. I'll put links of what I found super helpful, but if you have anything else, let me know. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, jam the subscribe button as I continue to put out videos. Super appreciate it. That's going to do it for this one. So until next time, thanks for watching.